Hey, it's Rob. I am at Easton Newnham Field, Easton, Maryland, in the TBM 930. Um, just because I'm familiar with this airport, but not in real life familiar with this airplane. But I've been messing around with it in Flight Simulator, and I think I'm somewhat competent in it now. um, let's get in the airplane. Got some stormage going on, apparently. This is live weather. I don't think there's an actual thunderstorm over Easton, but it's definitely raining. And kind of nasty over there, as it is where I am. But anyways, yeah, I was doing a dry run of this within the last hour, and the weather wasn't really working, so I restarted the game. Oh, and oh, by the way, the first time I started it up, there was an update I had to sit through. That's fun. Restarted the game, another update, which apparently literally just came out as I was playing, according to the websites I found that were talking about it. So there we go. We had a whole another update that took another half an hour. Anyways, the winds here should currently be 120 at 8. That seems to check out with what we're seeing. So we're using runway 15. My idea here is to do a somewhat realistic, as realistic as I can do, not knowing the airplane for real. Flight from Easton here up to Atlantic City, New Jersey. What was I trying to turn on? The lights. Why are the lights not turning on? Come on. Give me some lights. There we go. Panel lights. Don't really need the cabin. Let's see. Whatever. Anyways, I need to be able to see stuff. So, yeah, let's do that. We're going to be flying IFR, obviously, but we're going to... I'm going to set my altimeter. Basically be direct. I'm going to be my own air traffic control because the ATC in this game can be really annoying and obnoxious with the way it changes your altitude and hands you off. Worst thing is when it has you climb up to an initial altitude, when you know you're going to climb higher than that, and it waits till you level off to give you the next altitude. So you have to go through the climb, get the airplane climbing all over again. Little thing, but that's not how it would work in real life, I don't think. First thing I'm going to do is set my speed bugs, turn them all on. I'm going to correct rotation speed to be 80 knots. What in the world is going on here? Come on, guys. Jesus. 80 knots, because that's what it should be at the current weight we are at, according to the pilot's operating handbook, or whatever the technical term is. Nowadays, now we have an undefined button here. That's new. All right, minimums we don't know yet. Okay, so we got that set. We're gonna set our flight director on. We're gonna do heading mode. We're gonna bug our current heading. We're gonna pretend that they're gonna clear us initially to 5,000. So I'm setting that. That's this here. I'm setting that to 5,000. So the departure clearance might be something like you're cleared to Atlantic City. Fly runway heading, climb, maintain 5,000, expect 10,000, 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency, whatever, squawk, whatever. So we'll pretend that's our clearance. And then we'll set flight level change mode. And, oops, I'm going the wrong way. We're going to set this airspeed bug with this guy to, apparently it lets you go negative. Does it? Lets you go negative? No, just down to 0. Okay, I was confused by that. We're going to do 124, because according to the handbook, that is the right speed to climb at. And what maybe I'll explain what that's doing. So, flight director, I hit that button. I turned on this pink, magenta, whatever thing here. The yellow is where we're actually pointing. The magenta is the director, so it's going to move around, and our job is to put the chevron, I guess we'll call it, inside of this magenta one. And what that'll do is it'll make us climb at 124 knots and maintain our heading. Is on our heading indicator here. So it's 80 miles. This airplane can go up pretty high, but we're just going to go up to like 10,000. Because by the time we get up to any kind of an altitude, we're going to have to come back down. Alright, it's 20 degrees outside, so we don't need any anti-ice on right now, but just in case, we do have pitot heat and stall heat on. Essentially, I'm doing my version of the takeoff checklist. Flaps are set. It's not a very good checklist, but it is mine. Wish I had a yoke that had all this stuff on it. It would make things a lot easier. Okay, I think that's about it as far as what we need to set up. Oh, I do want to set up the wind. Option 1. AOA is on, comp channel speed, okay. So what that does is it gives us this little wind component indication. So we have a 10 knot headwind right now, which is great for taking off. So there we go. I think that's all we need to do for now. So what I'm going to do is... Oh, and they fixed the... It's not even in the notes that they did it, but they fixed that they don't have the fuel selector configured properly. Normally there was a CAS notification for this fuel selector not being in auto. And it is in auto as it should be. Nice. So they fixed some things that they didn't even mention that they fixed. Alright, well. Hopefully they also fixed the problem with the live weather not loading after the first flight that you do for some reason. That's what was happening to me. We've already set our altimeter. Okay. Oh, lights. Lights. Blah. Landing lights on. Nav and strobes are on. Okay. We're good to go. So what I'm going to do is bring it up to 100% torque as best I can with the buttons on the controller. That's hard to see for you probably, but it's the top gauge over here. And we're going to take off. Basically, we're going to look for 80 knots on the tape over here for rotation. Probably not going to look very smooth because, well, I'm flying with the Xbox controller. Oh, I should mention the CAS messages. So we have the parking brake on. It wasn't setting off the master warning, I noticed, like it usually does. So it was already suppressed, which is kind of a nice little thing. Alright, we're turning off the parking brake. Inertial separator is on, which it should be, I believe, since we're flying in near the ground and stuff. That keeps junk out of the engine, essentially, as far as I understand. Alright. Throttle up. Use some rudder. I wish I had just like a percentage indication of where my throttle is set to, but anyway. Try to keep it going in a straight line. Airspeed's alive. You can probably not really see it very well, but there's a little R here. That is our rotation speed as I go off the runway. Alright. What? Gears coming up. I am not flying the chevrons properly. Here we go. So, you can see the flight director there. I'm trying to follow that so I can get to 124 knots. Flaps can come up. I'm going to go ahead and hit the autopilot. Let that fly. So the autopilot's going to follow that flight director for us. Oh my god. The tower's trying to talk to me. I'm going to ignore them. I'm going to say that they said left turn approved on course. I got to turn off the radio somehow. Let me just switch it over to whatever that is. Alright, we're... Again, I'm not a turbine aircraft pilot in real life. I don't know why the ITT is always too high. Other than, I guess, I'm giving it too much power. But I looked at the manual for the airplane. I'm going to hit... So we're intercepting our course here. I'll come back to that. That's our course line. This guy down here represents that. We're going to silence that warning. We're going to put it in nav mode on the autopilot, and it's going to intercept our course. Anyway, I looked in the book at the climb performance thingy. Let me see here. And at 20 degrees, which we're at, you should be able to do 100% power. I don't know why it won't let me do that. And I get too high of an inlet, not inlet, interturbine temperature, I believe that is. Alright, it is capturing our course for us. That's why it's turning. It's kind of doing it really sloppy. So yeah, they would have like handed us off to approach, or departure, I guess, technically. They'd say, go ahead and continue your climb to 10,000, maybe, for fun. We already hit 5, so I need to redo my flight level change mode. And decrease our, we'll do like 145 knot climb. As we climb, I believe you're basically bringing back the power lever slightly to keep it at 100% torque. And it does have an all-in-one power lever instead of separate like controls like some airplanes. It's all computers and stuff. Alright, so we're only 74 miles away, which will not take long to get to. I know we have a raging tailwind. Also, it's already at 36 knots, and as we get up higher, it's going to be more. Turn off the master warning. Yeah, I must be doing something wrong, or it doesn't simulate the power settings properly based on the weather conditions. So it's 10 degrees outside. Again, we're not quite to 10,000, but 10 degrees is where you can be at full power. Let's take a look at our flight real quick. And the good old sky vector. So we're coming out of Easton. It's probably not going to be very visible on the recording what we're doing. This is the VFR chart, but that way you can see where the stuff is easier. Going up to Atlantic City. Do some gambling up there, maybe. I have flown from, it must have been Frederick, Maryland, which is over here, to Atlantic City. Anyway. Yeah, we're in the clouds, it's IFR, and we can't see outside. One thing we do want to watch is the outside air temperature. If it gets cooler, we're going to want to turn on our anti-icing stuff, but I think at 10,000 feet we're going to be okay. It's warm enough. We do have our pitot heat and stall heat stuff on, just in case. Alright, so now we're only 67 miles away, and we're going to be speeding up here because we now have a 51 knot tailwind, and we're not even done accelerating to our cruise speed yet. So I want to start thinking about what approach I'm going to do. Might be a little far out to pick up the ATIS at Atlantic City. What is the ATIS? 125725. Let's see if we can actually pick it up in the game. 11257. Now you normally do that on your COM 2. I'm just being lazy. Yeah, I can pick it up. Wind 135 at 13. That's not quite what it says in the real life METAR, but close enough. It says it's overcast at 400 in real life. ILS 31. Why would it be ILS 31? I'm gonna listen to that one more time. I kind of distracted myself. Should be 13. Wind 136 at 13. Yeah, I'm not doing an ILS 31. I'm gonna do the ILS to runway 13. So we'll pretend that approach is gonna vector us for that. So how are we doing on our speed? Well, we're truing out at 258 knots. It's not bad at all. And our ground speed is 314 knots because of that nice tailwind that we have. So we're going to get there in 10 minutes. That's why you got to start planning ahead, especially in these faster airplanes, of course. Sorry that this video is not one where we get to watch all the pretty scenery. Oh, there is one cool thing that I noticed. I'm going to turn on the airframe de-ice, and look what happens. The boots, they inflate. They actually inflate and deflate. It's so cool. Anyway, so that is how, if you get ice forming on the leading edge of the wing, it'll break it off for you. So it kind of does that on a timer. I think it alternates like left and right. Again, I've never actually flown this airplane in real life. So since we're expecting the ILS-13, it's a good time to go ahead and load our procedure. Let me get into a better view here. So on this handy touchscreen thingy that we got here, we're gonna hit procedure, approach, Atlantic City. It knows we're going there because it's in our flight plan already. ILS-13, transition Carroll, and I'll show you what that looks like. And I'm not going to load it yet because when you load it, it kind of doesn't do what I think it does in real life. I might be wrong. Wait, why does it say I have a 55 knot headwind? Or is that not what that means? I don't know. Something's wrong there, maybe. Because when you load it, it doesn't add it to your flight plan. It just acts like it activates it. Like it takes you to the approach from wherever you are. So I don't think that does that in real life. I think it just adds it to the end of your flight plan. But I could be wrong. It's been a while. We're only 47 miles away. So I'm going to have the controller vector us. So actually even, well, maybe not quite yet. But soon, we're going to be flying off on a more northerly heading so we get lined up better to intercept that approach. Yes, what was I going to do down here? Oh, I'm going to zoom out. So we're passing over near Dover right now, although we can't see that. We're leveled off 10,000 feet. We got our torque close to 100%. And again, the cruise performance charts, let's see if I have that. Cruise. Yeah, there we go. So this airplane seems to be designed to basically run at full power whenever you want it to, unless it's really warm. So what are we at now? 6 degrees outside. We're at 10,000 feet. 6 degrees is right here. So we're way above where you are limited to the torque setting you can set. And we're also cruising fairly low. This airplane can go up to 310. Yeah, flight level 310. And as you go up in the atmosphere, it obviously gets cooler. So it's probably, if it's -6 at 10,000. I'm sorry, it's not minus, it's 6 at 10,000 right now. It's probably like -16 or something up at flight level 200. Now, once you get up to the very high flight levels, you can see that you may have to start thinking about bringing the torque back. The green is like a standard day, or like the standard atmosphere that they talk about, I believe. That's what the green is. So generally speaking, you will have to start powering back if you're flying really high. But you're gaining the advantage of probably truing out at a much higher airspeed, taking advantage of wicked tailwinds if they're occurring. And even just while I was talking about all that, we got now another 10 miles, even more than that, like 15 miles closer. Oh, it's getting dark. So let's go ahead and go off to the left a bit. So TBM 2528 Echo, turn left heading 030. 28 Echo, turning left 030. He might say something like vectors for the ILS 13. If he does that, I'm going to load the approach. And now, see, that I don't think it should do that in real life, but whatever. It's now loaded basically where it knows that we're going to be flying to and intercepting the final approach course. I don't know if you can see that on the video. Let me zoom in. So it sets up like a turn. I feel like it should only do that if you activate the approach, but anyway, let's go ahead and activate the approach. See, it doesn't change anything to activate it. So it doesn't seem to differentiate between loading and activating. I could be wrong though. We'll look at the approach in a second. Probably should start descending. Oh, look, we can see the ground a little bit. Look at that. That's pretty realistic. I mean, you could break out of the clouds a little bit, you know. Let's set up a descent. Go ahead and go down to 3,000. So TBM 2528 Echo, descend and maintain 3,000 feet. 28 Echo down to 3,000. Okay. So we're going to do that as a vertical speed descent. And we're going to set our descent rate at like 2,000, even though that's... Whoa, there's some lightning going on. What do I have it set to? 3,600. Oh, 2,000 is fine. Oh, one other quick cool thing. Whoa, 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 whoa. So it thought I was still holding that button down for some reason. So the vertical speed went like to negative 10,000. That wasn't me, it was the game. All right, so we got the ILS. We want to double check that our localizer got tuned. Yep, 109.1. What is going on? Oh, before I get too far, I wanted to show something real quick. Weather selection. Okay, so one thing this does do, which is interesting, is depict what the weather radar on the airplane would actually pick up. That's what this guy out here is. Normally that would be the nose of like a jet, but since we got a propeller out there, it's on the wing. It looks like we're going to run into some really heavy rain up in that area. Well, that's like 25 miles away, so maybe not. Anyway, we'll go back to map mode. 2528 Echo, turn right heading 090. Okay, right to 090. Getting vectored around. Now at this point, you'd probably want to slow down. I am overspeeding the airplane, but that's because I set a pretty aggressive descent rate. We'll pretend that's not happening. Our ground speed is 344 knots, so we're coming in hot. Actually, you know what? I'll reduce power at this point. I figure you do everything else at full power in this airplane. Why not descend at full power? I'm trying to get to about 50% torque here. And yeah, you're not supposed to go above 250 knots under 10,000 feet anyways, but you know. Fix my altimeter setting. Alright, it didn't actually load the approach properly, but we'll just pretend that didn't happen. It didn't change the OBS to the localizer automatically. Oh no, it's not letting me even change the OBS. Oh, active nav, that's what I'm supposed to hit, sorry. Okay, so we're on basically an intercept here. And we're going to go down to 2,000. We're going to brief the approach. I may pause the game to do that. I got a little behind fooling around with stuff. Continue our descent down to 2,000. Vertical speed mode. There we go. So they do something like 2528 Echo. You're 4 miles from Mabin. Maintain 2,000 till established. Well, fly heading 090. Maintain 2,000 till established. Cleared. ILS runway 13 approach. And we would read that back. One thing I do want to do is set my minimums, which is based on a radar altimeter of 275 feet. So that puts that up here. This is the radar altimeter altitude. That tells us how high above the ground we are. I'm going to go ahead and set approach mode in the autopilot. And Mabin is our final approach fix. I'm going to go ahead and pause the game for a second and pull up the approach. Should have done this before. I got a little behind. I'm using good old SkyVector for all this. Hopefully that goes up pretty good. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and do this. So it's a little bigger for you. Okay. We'll zoom in a little bit. We noted that we tuned 109.1. Approach course will be 128. Or we have 10,000 feet of runway. That's a lot of runway. This is kind of how I would brief the approach. When we come in, we're looking for Mauser that looks like that. Missed approach is climbed to 600 feet, and then a climbing left turn to 2,000 feet on the Atlantic City 090 radial. The GPS will tell us where that is. That's fine. And it will tell us where Smiths is, which is 11 DME, and we'll hold there, which is a kind of a wacky backwards hold. But yeah, we're coming in. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but we're coming in from this away. Almost kind of like the Cedar Lake transition there. Intercept the localizer, and then we're going to be on the side view. We're going to be somewhere like here-ish, maybe. And then we might be outside of Carroll a little bit. So we can theoretically go down to 1,600 once we're within 10.5 miles, and then we would intercept the glide slope at around Mabin, which is 4.4 DME, and it is our final approach fix, so we want to have the airplane configured for landing at that point. Or at least have the gear down and things stabilized. Yeah, we're going to go down to our decision height of 275 feet. That's why I set that as our minimum. If we don't see the runway environment at that time, we are going to go around and do the missed approach procedure. Okay, I think that's good. Resume. All right, so we're 6.4. Why did I say 4.4 before? We're only 6.4 miles from Mabin. There's our localizer coming in, so the autopilot is turning us. Let's see. I'm gonna do the math here real quick. So when we're 6 miles from Mabin, we are within Carroll, and we can descend to 1,600 feet. So we can go ahead and do that now. Ugh. Seems to remember the last vertical speed you had. Let's zoom in on this. Zoom in on the MFD. There. That might give you a better picture of what's going on here. Strawberry Field. Everything seems to be in order here. I'm gonna leave the power setting. Actually, I'm gonna reduce power some more. We want to be down. I don't know what you actually would fly this airplane at on an approach. Maybe like 150 knots, because your final approach speed is 85, I believe. So we'll see how that goes. All right, we're 2.5 miles from Mabin. Or no, we're 2 miles from Mabin. This thing that came up here is our glide slope. So we got our lateral guidance in the localizer here. We got our vertical guidance in the glide slope. And you can see, maybe see this diamond coming down meet us. And when it does meet us, that means we're on the glide slope. And you can see the runway out there on the synthetic vision thing here. When it hits that, it should capture. So the autopilot is in altitude hold mode at 1,600 feet with glide slope armed. When we hit the glide slope, that should turn green. And the aircraft should descend. I should have had my gear down by then. Let's pretend I did. And I'm going to set approach flaps. And we can kind of already see the runway here, so that's not a problem. But you never know. We could fly through this cloud and lose sight of it or something. We're still slowing down, which we kind of want to be stabilized, really. But we're at 160 knots. It's a little fast. So we do want to go ahead and continue to slow down. Whoop, don't want to reduce power too much. That is funny that there's like a cloud on the ground, like right in front of the airport. When I practiced this before, and I did practice it, it was an approach down to minimums, and I didn't see the runway at all. Alright, so we are coming up on 500 feet to go based on the... Yep, 500 feet to go based on the radio altimeter. Radar altimeter. Yeah, this is what approach lighting looks like. You got a rabbit that kind of leads you into the Mauser, I believe that was called. And then you have the threshold lights and the side lights and stuff. 200 feet to go. Runway is definitely in sight here, so I'm going to go ahead and throttle back. We're gonna disconnect the autopilot at our decision altitude, which is now. Final flaps are gonna go in. Got a lot of slowing down to do here, so we're just gonna go idle on the power. Get in my normal view here. It's cool to see all the runway lighting going. Alright, we're at 95 knots. I add a little power back in. 85 knots, perfect. And now we're going to slow down as we flare and hopefully hit the boxes here. Boom! Right on the boxes. Power to idle. This thing does have a beta range for the prop, but I don't think I need it. I don't know if it's called beta in this thing. Ooh, yeah, that's tough. This airplane's fast. I was definitely behind the airplane the whole time. Doesn't help that I was goofing around with the radar and stuff like that, but... I failed to simulate that the approach controller would have handed me off to the tower, and I would have received a landing clearance from the tower. I don't remember where the FBO is. We'll pretend it's over there. So they'd be like, 28 Echo, turn right next taxiway. We'd be like, yes, sir. Go over here. Still going a little fast. Whoa, almost didn't make the turn. There's the control tower. And we'll come to a stop here. Okay, I never turned off the landing light because we go to taxi. Never went above 10,000 feet. I think that's the general rule for that. We're going to bring up our flaps. I don't think there's really anything else to do. I mean, we could turn off our eats, I guess. I never did turn off the inertial separator. Don't know when you're actually supposed to do that. Here's something you may not know with these like glass cockpits is that it even simulates what you're looking at on the ground. Now, the reason this looks so close to real life is because it's getting its information from the visuals in Flight Simulator. So, yeah. Is that an airplane flying around over there? Yeah, it looks like it. So distracted. And we'd be like, Atlantic City ground, TBM 28 Echoes off of 13 taxi to parking or wherever we're going. And they'd be like, yeah, you can go ahead and do that. So we'll go ahead and taxi. One thing I didn't talk about was the cabin pressurization. Which, let me turn off the flight director. We don't need. Which is, you know, it's really automatic in this airplane. It seems like you don't have to really do anything, but it is something you may have to monitor if you're like climbing really fast or something. Let me get my throttle to idle. Why is it dragging off to the left here? Is it trying to simulate because I have a crosswind? Yeah, let me get my airport diagram as I go off the taxiway because I lost control. So we landed on 1-3. So yeah, the terminal is over this a ways. In fact, I think I should have turned at Bravo. Anyway, I don't think I'm gonna record myself taxiing to the parking, which I'm thinking is over that way. As I go off the runway, it's so hard to control everything with an Xbox controller for me. But that's what I got, unfortunately. Any hoodle. Hope you all enjoyed that. I'm gonna practice some more and hopefully get a little better. I mean, we could have always done that in a much slower airplane like a 172. I get really confused with the way that the G1000 works in that, just because well, maybe not really confused. That might not be the best way to put it, but it just bothers me that it doesn't do things the way I think it should in real life. I don't know if that's because it's just been a while for me, or if there's genuinely like issues with it. But it's probably a combination of the two. What is this truck doing on the taxiway? There's another one coming. That's another little gripe I have with this simulation. It's not a game, it's a simulation. Like the ground traffic, there's way too many vehicles driving around. And like there wouldn't be constantly buses and trucks driving around on the taxiways. Like, now I'm rambling, I'm sorry. Yeah, look at the windsock. It's blowing in the wind. Anyways, thanks for joining me for that. Have a good day.